What's going on, advocates? Welcome back to another episode of the Black Mental Health Podcast. I'm your host, Reg. You know what we do here? We share therapeutic stories. Today, I'm doing my 2021 mental health check-in. I know you guys been seeing a few interviews. I try to do at least a few interviews by myself a year just to, talk one-on-one with the people. And so, yeah, I came this year to tell you what's been going on since the last update. I think the last one of these I did, it was in about October, around that time, around right before the holiday season. So I felt like it was way far overdue where I had to come in here and check in with you guys. So I'm going to let you know what's going on, what I've been up to, how I've been feeling, what's been happening, all of just being my business a little bit. But I feel like I owe it to you, especially anybody that share, review, or leave a review. Please leave a review on Apple. That helps out a lot. If you go to my website, you can get the steps to leaving a review. So please and thank you. So you share, tell a friend. All of those things are free and don't cost you a dime but your time. So I just thank you to anyone that's already doing it, and please continue to do it because it continues to help everything. Um, I felt like it was good timing to especially do this episode right around this time because um, I'm sure you'll hear this before the actual date, but my birthday is coming up. I'll be turning the big 30. I will be transitioning from the 20s going into the 30s. You know, I feel like that's a big transition. All those mile markers is almost like no, you are a full adult. You are responsible. You have a family. You have obligations. You got priorities, duties, all of those different things. And so I felt it like very timely to do this right at my 30th birthday. So again, if you want to give me a present, please like, share, subscribe, leave a review. That means more to me anything in the world because again, the more people that hear these therapeutic stories and hear this platform, the more people are who are able to start their healing journey. But yeah, so I'm turning 30. We're actually going to Miami to actually just get away for the first time, especially since the pandemic and everything that's been going on. We wasn't even really traveling like that. We wasn't really doing nothing. Just me and my lady going out. So I'll be in Miami enjoying some, bro needed time away from the kids, well needed time away from work, obligations, duties, all the things that I love. They also cause mental strain after a while. So I'm definitely happy to be able to do that. I don't really celebrate my birthday if I'm being honest. And I don't know why. I always felt I'm just now getting into a space. I think any of you who are longtime listeners and who have listened to the previous podcast and heard about my car accident and all some of the things that I went through, I think post car accident, I started to appreciate life a lot more and appreciate health a lot more because it's fragile. I think, and again, we talking about going into your 30s and going into these spaces where you're not you learn that you're not invincible anymore. I've really learned that oh no, life could be taken away in an instance. And one of the I just got some news the other day that someone from one of the organizations I work with passed away. My mother lost a loved one. Death is becoming realer now. Before it seemed impossible, and and the reason why I say that is these different things that can happen. You can get hit by a car, you can get shot on the street, and if you live in a certain neighborhoods, you can get all these different things. Even me going through a car accident where they can accident, but people just here today, going tomorrow without something tragic like in that shifting type of way. That is new. Like you just wake up one day and it's like, oh yeah, you talking. They're clear. That is something that I'm still battling to understand. That death is a part of life. I've never been too much of a fan against it or a fan. I don't know how to deal with death, and so me having these conversations or knowing these people is like it's kind of forcing me to learn how I deal with death and start to process, to grieve, to do these different things. So I don't know. That's one of the transitions into 30s that I'm starting to notice, and it's starting to play a part in what I do and who I am. And so I'm again going back to that, celebrating a birthday. Going to enjoy it, going to take the time to actually, have that mental space that you need to relieve. I'm cutting off work. I'm cutting off. This is one of the reasons why I'm kind of recording the podcast a little earlier. You'll have it right before my birthday. And so I just wanted to get it out. So I'm going to enjoy it. I'm actually going to enjoy it. I'm going to process it. I'm going to take it in, because to make it to 30, being a young Black man coming from the communities that we come from, being growing up in these certain environments, is an accomplishment. And it's sad that it's an accomplishment, but it is accomplished nonetheless. And so I'm definitely happy and excited to have these to just have this conversation about going into your birthday, because I want to challenge a lot of other men to start celebrating their birthdays more, their birthdays a lot more. Because I think that's a man thing too. Like certain men just don't celebrate it. It's almost like a privilege, and it's like you should get older, but it's not a guarantee every time, man. And I just want to challenge other men to do the same thing. Um, Speaking of certain environments and certain communities, one of the changing things that happened for me recently is that I moved. I can finally say it now, because for one, I wasn't being honest with myself, but two, I just felt uncomfortable like sharing that with the people. I was low key still living in the hood, like when it came to recording a podcast, recording these conversations. And so I'm still hearing them gunshots every other night, still hearing these different things that's happening with the community. Police car sitting right on the corner. And so I just recently moved. We moved on the outskirts. I won't say on the outskirts of Philadelphia, but Philadelphia is really close. So we still here. But I'll say that move was such a gift and a curse. I'll go through the gifts and tell you some of the curses as well, and some of the things I'm battling with the move, because it has been a blessing. Um, I was the reason why we were in the hood is because post my car accident, we wound up going into my mom's house, because I couldn't physically go work. And then we wind up moving somewhere where we can afford, so that way we can like have that space of like being in our own environment. When we wanted to get there, and that was the only thing we could afford at that time, because until I can really get on my feet and really get moving. Then now I started to move and and move around and do my thing. We were able to get to where I knew we would get to. It just took a little process. So again, a little ashamed about that, because it was like, man, you gotta kind of promote healing, promote like people talking about mental health, but you know your environment not the best place to be, and you're not in that space. So it was a gift, because now you get to see your kids run out on green grass. You get to see your kids have the fun. Your lady, she's proud to you come home. She would say how tremendously being in that environment would mess with her anxiety, not knowing if dudes was going to try to do something to her, and I can't be everywhere. And um just the whole not being in the comfortable within your environment. And so I'm happy with that, because it did bring a bunch of peace. Brought about peace towards my family, and anything that brings peace and health towards my family, I'm always going to be appreciative of. But I think for me as well, that I say is the curse of it is, I'm thinking about how how can I say this in the right words? I'm not so far removed from my accident where we couldn't afford. We had to move back with my mom once I went down. We had to move back into someone else's house. We weren't able to sustain on our own. And if I'm being frank, I'm like, we're moving into this place. Yeah, that's with me healthy. We're moving into this space. I damn near moved a majority of the apartment. I give help to my family and friends who came after work and after the day, but I damn near moved the whole apartment. Oh, my lady was with me 100% of the way. I would never take credit from her. But loading that truck up, that was me going up and down them stairs trying to get that truck. And so I say all that to say, going into moving into our new spot, um, I'm cognitive or cognizant of uh the fact that if I'm not here, like my family's lifestyle shouldn't change because I'm not here, if that makes sense. Like you should have set up some type of structure, some type of foundation where they're able to survive until you either, get back, or until if you never come back, that they're still in a space. And I didn't like seeing that. I was helpless. I wasn't able to provide. I watched them do so many different things that I couldn't physically get up and contribute to. And so me knowing that, me seeing that, I don't want history to repeat itself. And so me, even though we're in a new environment, even though we're in a new space, even though we're in a space where we can kind of be quote unquote uncomfortable, I'm still uncomfortable because I know I remember that feeling. I'm hoping that's making sense because it's something that's playing on me. It's something that's playing on my mind. It's something that is really bothering me. Now, if I had a year's worth of money, if I had like all this unlimited income, if I have all this stuff, situated and put to the side, then I probably would feel a little bit more comfortable. But I'm anxious. Like everybody's congratulating us, everybody, because they know where we're coming from. They know all of these different things. But I'm like, thank you. I'm appreciative. I'm grateful. But to me, it don't mean nothing. Not their applause and their things that they're saying, their nice gestures, is more so to me. It's like, yo, you can't settle. You got to make sure you're grinding. You got to make sure you're doing your thing. And so I'm removed. The environment's good. Everything is straight, but I'm still on edge right now. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to make sure that, all right, if I can't be there, my family won't have to uh do anything that any different is until daddy come back or until hubby get here or whatever the case may be. So I definitely wanted to share that because that is top of mind right now. That is something that's plaguing on my heart because the move is very recent. It's not like, I've been here for years. It's very recent, months and even. Um, so it's right there on the top of in front of mine. But speaking of relationship, family is healthy. I'm always gonna say, people asking me, well, what you gonna do for your birthday? What you want for your birthday? I'm like, now more than ever, especially with COVID, especially with um all of these different things going on, the police brutality, all those different things. I value the health and well being of my family. Like I wish more health, more life, more everything to family, man. And as long as family, because again, health is so much important to me. Because all of this stuff, money, all these different things don't mean nothing if you can't have health. And so, especially again, it's a mental health platform. If you ain't got your mind right, if everything else falls apart, physical, all of those things. So all I'm wishing for my birthday is the health and well-being, and everybody's healthy. So um but I was going into the relationship thing because we are scheduled to do our marriage soon, very soon. I can't prematurely say anything, but we are scheduled to do our marriage and finally get married on our 10 years of being together. And so I'm happy and excited about that because again, going back to the accident and seeing the COVID and seeing how fragile life is, I would want my sons and their mother to be taken care of, and um, it'll be a family thing instead of just a baby mom, girlfriend, or however people spouse. Like, no, it's like this is his wife and his kids, and there will be no confusion when it comes to the division and in the lines of anything, no fighting and none of that stuff. So I'm excited about that because that is coming up soon. And being a husband, that's giving me some anxiety because I'm like, man, am I gonna have to live up to some Superman standard now? Am I gonna have to start figuring some other things out? Like, what does that look like? Because if I'm being honest, if I've seen any, it's been very few husbands within the Black community as fathers and husbands, and there's no cheating involved, there's none of that involved. And so I'm a little anxious because now it's like you got to go down that path and create it if you haven't seen it, or go search for people who had that path and borrow some things so that way you can put along your journey and the stuff that you're doing. And so that's causing some things within myself. Um, and I'm still battling with that. I'll let you guys know in the future how that feels because I'm pretty sure by the time I do my next check-in or you hear through the episodes, um, that I'll be married by then. And it ain't gonna be no big announcement. It ain't gonna be nothing big. We still working out the details. That's why I'm trying to be too, cautious about all the things I'm saying. But for the most part, it'll be official, and I'll be a husband. That's scary even saying that. um, but speaking, I've been talking a lot about mental health and mental well-being and how I've been feeling. The last time I talked to you all and did the check-in last year with 2020, I talked about having a mental health team. I had a psychiatrist, I had a therapist, had a couples counselor, had all the shebang trying to make me, make sure I'm mentally well balanced and making sure I'm getting all of the things that I need within myself. Fired them all. I fired them all. I fired them, got rid of them, got them out the door. And it's no I don't want to say no shade, but it is no animosity towards them. Um, I think sometimes the things that work for you, they stop working for you after a while. And so I felt like I was just showing up to these therapy sessions, these meetings, these whatever couples counseling sessions, and it was like I'm not getting what I feel like I should receive. And shout out to Taz. I think y'all heard her earlier. Well, I know y'all heard her earlier. She was on one of the podcasts earlier this year. Um, and I was telling her, I have the great fortune to be surrounded by therapists who I can like pick their brains on certain things. And I'm like, Taz, I'm not getting some of the things that I feel like I need from these therapeutic sessions. And she was like, well, did you tell them, because it was multiple, did you tell them what you're looking for? And did you set like the foundation? Because she says she always has a hard time when when clients come into her office and they're just sitting there and they're not participating in their own therapeutic process. And I was trying to explain to her from my perspective is like we're coming to them as the expert. So it's almost like the person, the regular civilian who's bringing their car to a mechanic, they're not going to come there and say, hey, they're coming there for you to tell them what's wrong with their car. If they knew what was wrong with their car, they'd probably try to get up there and fix it. I know I would. But we're coming to you like, hey, fix me. Something is broke. I don't know. You got to figure out why it's broke, what happened, and do all the things doing it. And it was like, and using that same example of a person bringing a car to a mechanic, you have to be able to tell them the things that is going on with inside the car. Like, is it making this funny noise? Is it doing this? Is it doing that? And then do what you told them. They can develop a few suggestions. I didn't know what to expect. And for me being who I am, I try to be, as much as I talk, I try to be as quiet as much as possible, especially in couples counseling. I try to be quiet because I want to make sure I'm creating a space and not trying to take over the session. So that was the balance of that. And I felt like and what probably was wrong with that was we had a young therapist too in that session. And I think we need someone more experienced. And when I say more experienced, I mean like they've been in a marriage for X amount of years. They have seen it all. They have been through whatever the case may be. I'd rather an older either couple, gentleman, woman, or whatever the case may be. But I'd rather older person next time and when we doing it. Cause I got rid of all, I got rid of my individual therapist, I got rid of the psychiatrist and got rid of the couples counselor. I just now got a therapist who I'm thinking about um firing again. And that's the other thing I had to learn because I was suffering through a lot of these sessions, just like to my downfall, it was like maybe I just wanted to have a therapist to say I had a therapist or a psychiatrist just to say I had a psychiatrist or whatever to prove this mental health agenda or whatever the case may be. I didn't want nobody looking at me funny how you preach about therapy, mental healing, but you're not in therapy or whatever. So maybe I was trying to perpetrate a fraud. And so I was like, man, I can't. At one point, I told him I just can't do it. I just was like, yo, I'm done. But I learned that that's not a bad thing. You can fire your therapist, your insurance, whatever. Even if you're paying out of pocket, you're paying them. So you have the right to have the matchmaking, the a relationship, a therapeutic relationship that works for you. And so once I learned that, I'm like, all right, from now I'm gonna keep going. Shout out to Black Men Hill. I'll talk about them later. That's one of the things that they offer is the matchmaking portion of like therapy. Like they go through, you tell them they have that conversation, such a stringent process where it's that match making you up with a provider of color that really suits your needs. And I think for me that was I didn't even realize that that's a big thing. Like, and even in my own, we say it, I say it to promote the company, whatever. But when it was time for myself, didn't even realize that I was like, not realizing how important that was. And so I'm glad I was able to say and sit here and say I fired. I'm still looking. If anyone, that I don't have a, a relationship with, willing to take me on as a client, I'm always here. But I am looking for another therapist. I got Blue Cross, so if anybody takes that, I'll definitely um, would love to get me a new therapist. But yeah, that's the top of it right now with the therapy. I'm in the search. I'm still finding my healing. One thing I can say too that the move has done, it has opened me up to the space of doing the things that brought me mental tranquility. Is that the word I'm looking for? It brought me that mental peace that I used to have. So it's a lot of green grass, there's a lot of open areas to see ducks and deers every once in a while. It's these two ducks that walk around all the time up here, but you just start to see those things, um, and they help with your healing. And I think that plays a major part within my mental health. I love it. Like I love that. And I didn't mention this earlier, but that was one of the things. As much as I love it, is the bad part about it. Um, Yesterday, or I guess I'm dating the podcast now, but on one of the King's Corners we talked about for Black Men Hill, King's Corner, we offer a virtual safe space 7 p.m. Eastern every week, for men of color or men. It's a lot of men that come from all over, but again, I'll get into that later. Uh, it Within that safe space, we talked about imposter syndrome, and when we talked about syndrome, you didn't realize how many things plays a part into your imposter syndrome. So one of the things that I brought up was within my recent move, um, it's two things that I'm going through right now, and that's again, I'm glad I'm having this one-on-one conversation with whoever I'm having it with. One of the things that is bad, that related to the King's Corner topic of imposter syndrome, we talked heavily about code switching, and so now, um, and code switching briefly is trying to appease someone by appealing to a different talk, a different look, whatever the case may be, to appease that opposite person. So you code switch yourself, who you are, to appease the person you're trying to please. Usually that's in like white dominant areas or whatever the case may be. And for me, how that applies is now that I'm up in a different neighborhood, I find myself almost like code switching because I don't feel as comfortable in the neighborhood that I'm in. Like I can't wear a lot of my black, not can't, I won't say can't. I feel uncomfortable. Me feel uncomfortable in the area wearing all of my Black Men Hill stuff that says like it's almost like Black Power or Black. Wearing those colors, a strong color, because you don't want to offend anybody, and it sounds bad. It sounds exactly what it is. It's like I know that I should be able to do it, but I also don't want nobody. Like the first day, they read my hoodie from Black Men Hill hoodie. Y'all can get the merch. It was Black Men Need Hugs, and they was reading it all. We're like Black Men Need Hugs. Well, I would like a hug too. And it's like I know we all need hugs, or you try to laugh it off. And so it was like I don't even want to bring that energy, if that makes sense. Like it just, I'd rather have a blank hoodie, a blank jacket, a blank whatever on, so that way we can limit our interactions. Like I don't need you to be all extra and doing all these different things. And so I don't know, that's one of the bad things about it that I'm going through now, and trying to like get adjusted to still being you, who you are, without code switching so much. Like you use the code switching to your advantage and not letting it use you. And then, but I don't want to lose myself in the code switching. So that was a powerful conversation that we had on King's Corner from Black Men Hill. So if you're not tuned into Black Men Hill, please get on, because we have therapeutic conversations as well every Sunday. 20 to 25 men get together and have conversations around different topics that affecting Black men. So make sure y'all go check that out. But also, the other thing that I could say that is quote unquote bad right now as it pertains to me moving is I almost feel like a sellout. And hear me out. So when I say I feel like a sellout, it's almost like because I'm not in a community that's surrounded around my people, like I almost got to go back to the hood to keep kind of fit in or be around my people. And and mind you, I'm still processing these thoughts and still working through them, but I kind of feel like, and it's probably a mixture of survivor's remorse as well, where you one of the ones that make it out of the hood or out of that jungle, out of that, war zone. But you got either family, you got friends, you got people you love, you got people you grew up with that's still in these certain environments, and you start to feel a little, bad. You feel guilty almost, and it's like, man, like you feel like you should be there too. Even with like sending your kids to certain schools, is like, should I send my kid to this all white school or this predominant white school, or should I send them back to the hood where he got in danger of people doing stuff to him? You in danger in both areas or something of people doing things to you. And so these are some of the thoughts that are running through my mind at this very instance, because I'm still trying to figure it all out. Again, that turning at 30. And the reason why I'm gonna title this podcast 30 Years of Mental Health Awareness, because I feel like at different stages, there are different levels of mental health that you deal with along your journey. Um, and so it's a conversation that's going to keep happening. These are some of mine that I'm going through right now. And I just hope that anybody else that is going through something similar, that they know they're not alone. Like, we are all battling. And even when I'm opening up to this, I'm hoping that people facilitate that conversation with me so that way they can help me work through that thoughts. And this is why this platform exists, sharing therapeutic stories, so that way other people know that they're not alone. And so, and me included, like, I want to know I'm not alone. So tell me, how are you battling with these, like, not feeling like the survivor's remorse or the imposter syndrome or the code switching, or like, what are you doing to negate these feelings or at least manage them, because you don't want to get rid of them, like they're valid and how they feel. But for me, I'm still navigating them, and hopefully me navigating it will help me, or hopefully me telling and sharing that I'm navigating will help others be able to share their version of how they navigated and how they got through it, because I know what I'm going through in my 30s, or entering in my 30s. There is someone who is already in their 30s, maybe 40s, 50, who have been through it, and they have the advice, they have the knowledge, they have the stories that they can share that will help me and others get through that, because it is going to cause some anxiety and it can cause some depression, and it does cause you to self-doubt and all the other things that's on that mental health spectrum. It causes these things, and we really do need to continue to have these type of conversations um, along the way. So now I feel like I got a lot of those out the way. That was more of the personal things, all of the things. Oh, one more personal thing before I go to COVID update. I know we talked a lot about the COVID, and that's one of the biggest things that have been happening. I'll say this for me, I'm taking the vaccine. I feel like I understand why people are against it. I understand why people aren't, front in line, all the Tuskegee experiment, all the history with the mistrust, the cultural mistrust, and all of those different things. The way I see it for myself, and it's just my personal belief, we eat foods that we know have bad. And when I say we, I mean we, because I'm along the line of it. Um, we just do a lot. People have unprotected sex. People do all of these different things that are almost way worse, if not more. I'm not a health expert, so and I will never try to claim that I want, but I know there's a lot worse in those things that we do, that has we talk about, we don't know what's in it, we don't know what's and mind you, I just came to this conclusion, especially with not knowing that outside people are going back outside. We are getting brought in for more things that we have to do to move around and within the community, and wanting to help. So if it's going to get in the way of me helping and serving and doing all these different things, then I give it to me. Let me make sure my life insurance is set up. Let me make sure all these things are set up, so if anything happens, my family is straight. But for the most part, I know we do things on a daily basis, daily, not even just week, daily. All of us do things on a daily basis where we don't even know what it is. I think somebody said, it's like, I don't know what's in Fruity Pebbles. Like, I don't know what's in these cereal I don't know nothing that's in these. And I just take it like it ain't nothing. But again, the feelings are valid from um, the history. So I understand it, but I definitely do, want to say that I am taking it. What has taken me so long is because I had those same feelings that everyone else had, but I also work at a health center as well. And once you get more education, once you see others who were one of the front line in February getting it, and we don't know the term effects of what it will be, but we also don't know the long term effects of sticking AirPods in your ear and leaving that directly in your ear, or wearing the phone. We got our phones that is our life, and we on. I'm talking to you guys through audio or electronics, and how that's going to play long term effects. So there's a bunch of different things that, and I guess people pick and choose what you have. All right, we have freedom of choice. Well, hopefully, I think everyone is going to be meditated, but that's a different story. But I'm taking it out because I got people to help. I got communities to heal. I got work to do, and I don't want nothing to stop in the way of my work. So I will be taking it, and I hope that it will be an outcome and be good. I'm hoping. Now for professional updates, I think I'll start with Black Men Hill. I'll start with Black Men Hill because that was one of the earlier things that I was able to be a part of and transition into when I talk to you all. As again, if those who don't know, Black Men Hill is a pro bono free service for men of color. Provide 8 free sessions to jumpstart men of color healing journey. Um, and it's been a phenomenal place of peace, a place of healing. We are in 9 states right now, currently moving into more states. I know we're in PA. Let me see, PA, New York, Jersey, Delaware, the DMV, and then Georgia. I feel like this is like 9 states. With the hopes to expand it more. And a part of Black Man Hill is a space called King's Corner. King's Corner came out of the need that we couldn't serve everyone through Black Man Hill. We couldn't provide all of the therapeutic services through there, but there were brothers who still wanted some healing. So every Sunday we do a virtual safe space, 7 p.m. Eastern, called King's Corner. Me and my brother Doug, who I think you guys heard earlier this year and a few episodes ago, he co-facilitated with me as King's Corner. We have different topics every week, 7 p.m. Eastern. Brothers from Canada, Mexico. We have a huge UK presence. Our brothers from the UK come in and join and have these conversations with us. Um, just a mind blowing platform because when we first started it, it really was out of the need, the fact that we couldn't serve the brothers. And as you can see, or maybe you can't see it, let me describe it. It's 20 to 25 men that come on each and every week, and have these therapeutic conversations, man, psychoeducation and getting that knowledge. Like I said earlier in the episode today, that our previous session was about imposter syndrome and what's the word that I'm looking for? Imposter syndrome and code switching, and how that plays a part in Black men and going into these office spaces or getting pulled over by the cops and you talking about your credentials as opposed to anything else. Like one of the big ones that I know we have coming up is Black Men Need Hugs Part 2. I didn't even realize the different uh variations of hugs, when you could get a bear hug when somebody coming in for a bear hug, the side hug, the tap on the back hug, and what they mean and what they signify when you're talking to Black men. And so I'm so happy to be a part of that space and happy to facilitate that conversation. If you guys are if any of you guys are at any time looking for me, you can always find me with Black Men Hill King's Corner. The podcast may not come out every week all the time, but King's Corner definitely does come out, and you can join that space and really be a part of it. So definitely doing that every week. Black Man Hill been still the community outreach coordinator, making those connections. It's a lot of good things happening with Black Man Hill. I can't reveal. This not even the space for it. But there's a lot of things. One thing I can say is we're going on tour. All those states that I just named that we service, I think, if not all of them, hold on, let me make sure, let me not misspeak. We're going on a 5 city tour. It's 5 city tour. So we're doing Philly, New York, not Delaware, Philly, New York, Baltimore, Virginia, and Atlanta. And we're going to go touch the people in the city or touch the brothers in the city and bring them healing spaces from the King's Corner outside. We going on the corners outside into these cities, into these hoods, and having these therapeutic conversations. So again, I still continue this work. Y'all may not hear me all the time on my platforms. Y'all may not hear me, but I'm still doing the work, just doing it within these systems because I know as an individual I can serve people, and if you see my head, my brand, I can serve people. Those who you just listen, I was pointing to my logo, my personal logo. I can serve people, but imagine if you add all of these different people, maybe 10 people to the side, how many people we can serve, and so I'm just trying to serve the max amount of people that I can serve. So again, join up Blackman Hill, tell a brother to come through King's Corner, tell them about the services, and if we're in your area, go fill out an app and tell them Reg sent you. You can come through and we'll be there. So King's Corner tour. I just want to go off a few stats real quick before I get off of Blackman Hill. Um, I said the 2025 men. We've held over 50 weekly King's Corner sessions. So since the pandemic, which was in March, we've been doing that from March all the way till now, never missed a week. Every week, different topics, different hosts, different people coming in, and different guest facilitators come in and have these conversations, 20 to 25 men. I think the maximum at one time we had like 40 a couple times. Man, it's such a great conversation. We had just had 30 the other day. What was it? 34 actually the other day. Just having these conversations, man, and continue to have them, it's been a blessing. So 50 straight, 700 men globally served through King's Corner, 400 men globally stay connected in our Facebook group. And then Blackman Hills has over 27,000 followers on IG. So the movement is big. Like I said, it's a bunch of things coming through that I can't reveal yet. Don't have classification just to do that just yet, but just know I think y'all be proud of the work we're doing at Blackman Hill, as well as seeing my growth and evolution and serving the community, because it's still happening. I still haven't stopped. It just may be in a different form, but I'm always going to be there to be there for the people. Speaking of serving, one of the things that I think we talked about lastly, before I got or after I got with Blackman Hill, was my transition into working with Drexel, and getting acquainted with them. Again, I work. Drexel has a partnership with a federally qualified state something. I still figuring out the structure of it, but we got a health center, and I've been a part of. So the last time you guys heard me, that was a reason why you didn't hear me for a while, is because I was still getting used to the position, still getting used to the role, still getting used to what they needed from me and what I was supposed to be doing. Um, and if I'm being honest, I felt a bit incompetent going into that role and that opportunity. And I think it was because I was so used to doing community work in a certain type of way. And then they started talking about these different languages and these different notions. And I'm like, man, I don't know what y'all talking about. I don't know what any of these things means, these words, these phrases, these statements. I don't know nothing about nothing. Over time, so I felt very incompetent. Over time, I learned that, bro, you already doing the work. This is just their word of phrasing it, or their definition of phrasing it, or whatever the case may be. This is the concept behind the work that you're doing. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I didn't know that's what y'all called that. Like, so it's still work that you're already doing. It just transformed, or it's languaged a different way. And it, mind you, I don't feel as incompetent as I did before, because now I understand the language. I think that's all I needed to do was understand the language. I was already doing what I was supposed to be doing. And that was one of the reasons why they brought me on into the companies, because it was like, we love what you're doing, just do it over here. Same thing with kind of like with Black Mahil. It's like, yo, we love what you doing. Just kind of do it over here. And so I turned my individual service into a multitude levels of service. And some of the things that I'm proud that we are able to, before I say that, is one of the things I'm happy that I'm able to do with Drexel is learn and get information. I think information is such a powerful tool, especially when you don't know what you don't know. And so I'm definitely happy that I'm able to get this information from Drexel and have these different conversations. So, and I'll always be grateful, even if whenever it ends, for the knowledge that I gain every single day. One of the things that's been sticking out to me a lot lately is what is it called? Social determinants of health. That was a term that you feel and you know, but you don't know what the meaning is. So, for example, there are things and outside factors that contribute to you being healthy. For example, you would say, all right, well, exercising is free. There's no reason why certain people and certain demographics should be overweight if exercising is free. You can go outside and do this. You can walk around the corner. You can do these different things. Mind you, I said earlier in the episode, I was in a neighborhood where I'm still hearing gunshots every other night. It was people were still doing certain things. There were certain anxieties that caused for my girl to get upset. And so if you can't physically or you're scared to go outside your house for a walk or a jog or whatever the case may be, um, that will coincide with you literally not wanting to be, and you're right now is choosing safety over health. In that instant you're choosing safety over health. Like, it's not smart to do that. The only time you want to go outside is if you're going for a specific reason, maybe to go to work, maybe to go get food, grocery shopping, whatever the case may be. But those social determinants, that's a deeper conversation. I'll have that on a different platform, or not a different platform, a different podcast with a different person or whatever the case may be. Because I think you could do a whole, I know you could do a whole episode on it. But those social determinants of health really stuck with me because you could see the pitfall, especially in the African American community, where, oh, these things all play a part in why um, unhealthiness, what is it, diabetes, high cholesterol, all these things exist because there are outside factors contributing to the way we live and how we live. And I really do want to dive into that on a later podcast. Um, but I just wanted to run down some of the initiatives that I'm involved in when it comes to Drexel, because I didn't even realize that I had to do like this training, and they wanted to know how many supervised hours of different things that I was doing within Drexel, and so I had to go through list of things so that way I can complete the training. And when I first got there, we did a turkey drive. That was one of the things that I was responsible for, uh, and giving out. I want to say it was about 180 names on that list, if I can't remember. It was in November, so please forgive me. It was over 100 though, and we gave out 180 turkeys, or 100 plus turkeys. And like I said, as much as I want to serve the community, uh, I can't do it alone. Like, you need a team, you need these, you need funding, you need money. And so I was happy to say that I was a part of an initiative that served 180 turkeys to the community. Um, One of the things that they have charged me with hiring me and bringing me into the company is the fact that they wanted to start a men's health council where men discuss men's needs. Uh, one of the most sought after, what's the word I'm looking for? One of the most underserved population is men when it comes to their health, and I'm myself included. I just now started to get my health in order. And like, again, I've been a big proponent of mental health, but when it came to my physical health, neglected it wholeheartedly. I go to the gym every once in a while, whatever the case may be. I just started back a little bit good, but I was neglecting it, and you could tell, and a lot of men neglect their health, and I want to be one of the people that push that. No, we ain't neglecting it no more. We getting it together. We having these doctors visits. We having these different places. So um, I'm charged with the Men's Health Council. If you listen to this and you're a man and you're in the Philadelphia region, please reach out because they want to have men having those conversations. So definitely want to be a part. Definitely happy to be a part of that. We're currently doing a community health assessment that I was in part of developing, where we took some questions, we got a survey, and instead of, the goal of the survey is, or the assessment is to gather information from the community. And instead of us putting out programs, ideas, services that the community don't care about, let's see what you think you need, or let's see what you want, or let's hear from directly from the people. And so that way we're not turning our wheels trying to service the community. We're just giving it to the people straight from them. It's like this is what majority of the community says. So we're definitely doing that right now. Run through and real quick. I was very crucial in developing a racism infographic. And the racism infographic connected is these big flyers. If you can't see, they're probably about the size of a poster board, where we connected the racism to trauma and broke it down step by step. I wish I had it. I would include it in the podcast, but I try to not to mix the two together. But I was in charge of the racism infographic. It's a bunch of social justice initiatives where we're finding different funds to, maybe pay someone's rent that who couldn't pay it, or who can't pay it. Um, Making sure we're keeping up with the what's that called, all of the Black Lives Matter movement, and the health and well-being of black and brown people. So I'm a part of that initiative. It's a bunch of those. We have a community convening where we invite members of the community to have conversations around different things that's going on in the community and how we can serve. Um, if you, a lot of the thing within this, you'll hear that we try to invite the people from the community to make sure we're giving them voices to voice their concerns of what's going on in the community. We were able to give out COVID relief bags. That was a big part of that, where we gave out, and I know we gave out 1,000+ bags to people within the community in these housing complexes, and giving them much needed things like toilet paper, paper towel, mask, sanitizer, soap. What else was in there? First aid kits. It was a bunch of different things within there. Healthy information about COVID relief and how to wash your hands. Those different things within the bag. And so that, and one of the last things that I'll leave off with that I was able to do too as well, or be a part of, is I'm a part of this initiative called Coach. Excuse me, need some water. Coach is a collaborative opportunities to advance community health, um, trauma informed healing centered practice. It's an advisory group. The duties of that group include reduce the opioid what do we say, reduce opioid related community burdens through surgical stewardship initiatives addressing social determinants of health. I told you that's big. And like food insecurity by strengthening community clinical linkages and fostering a culture of health literate care in Pennsylvania through provider training, patient empowerment, and organizational change. I'll sum all of that up and say we're working with the health systems. This is where I mean about getting into these health systems. Been on the phone with all the local hospitals, the bigger ones too, within this community, and seeing how we can be patient advocates, making sure they're providing trauma informed care, all of these different things, so that way the patients are feeling heard, their needs are being met, and they're still being involved in their care because they know more about what they need than we do. And especially doctors. I ain't gonna say we as in doctors. I mean we as in um, people who are trying to serve the community. So involve them in any type of way. Um, but yeah, man, that's what I've been up to. Sum all of that stuff up. Drexel, shout out Drexel, shout out Blackman Hill, shout out Nami. I'm still working with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, still doing their Minds Matter group, still lending myself in different capacities that I can be, man. Um, but I always say it, and I always leave off with, I will never leave this platform, this audience, this space, because this led me to all of those different spaces. This was one of the first things that I started. This audience was the first thing that, helped me continue to have these conversations in these different capacities. So I always try to come back, check in, let you all know what's been going on, what's been happening, because without you all, none of these things exist, none of these things. So I'm always grateful, appreciative, and forever indebted, because you guys made me who I am. You guys contributed to wherever I decide to go, and whatever decision I make. I always keep you front of mind. So on that note, remember that this platform has never been about replacing therapy. It's always been a place to share, to our alternative place to share therapeutic stories. Thank you for listening.